we've had a lot of gaming phones over the years, and largely I've kind of questioned their existence because a lot of the times, really, if you get a good flagship phone like the S22 Ultra, you get largely the same experience. However, the 7S Pro RedMagic has really impressed me in a lot of ways that finally make it kind of seem more like this is a good option, because I don't really consider the Asus Republica gaming phone a lot of a great option because it's so expensive, especially last year's model, priced so far out of people's price range. Really, if you're an enthusiast and you want something like this, you're not going to go spend over $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 to get one of these things. So I think they've kind of caught on to that with RedMagic. This one starts off $729 US. I think $899 for the more expanded model with up to 18 gigabytes of RAM. This one, the base model, 12 gigabytes of RAM. It's got a 6.8-inch screen. It's beautiful. Nice screen. Great for gaming. You've got the touch capacitive buttons, the shoulder buttons up on top. You've got a dedicated gaming mode switch over here, which you flip the switch, and all you have to do is flip the switch, and then it puts it into gaming mode, and then it prioritizes everything for gaming and front loads it, gets it ready to go so you can play your games. It's really a nice interface. It's cool. I mean, you go from pedestrian phone to gaming phone with just a switch over on the side, so that's really cool. But what I really love is there's a 20,000 RPM fan in here. It's got an integrated 20,000 RPM cooling fan, which is insane. I'll turn it on because it even turns on the LED lights. And you can hear it. That's pretty darn neat, huh? So you get the Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 1. You get this cool cooling fan. You get the game mode. You've got a heart rate sensor here that you can use in conjunction with the fingerprint sensor. I guess if you feel like you're getting excited and worked up, you can check that out. But the thing is with this phone, I think it's reasonably priced for what you get. It's got Android 12. Hopefully it'll get Android 13. But it's got Android 12. It's got their own UI on here. You got a headphone jack. That's great for gaming. You got the USB-C on the bottom, so you can charge it that way. And it's got Gorilla Glass 5 for the glass now. So they made a couple improvements here. The camera stuff, it's okay. If you've got good lighting, you should be able to take perfectly good photos, but that's not why you're buying this. The big selling point is the dedicated gaming, right? You want to be able to game. You want to be able to play. You got a 5,000 milliamp battery. You got a big screen on here. It's 1080p, so you don't have to worry about pushing the limit on the Quad HD Plus where you're straining your resources and killing your battery life. And I'd seen some folks talking about how this really isn't a meaningful upgrade over the 7 that came out earlier this year, but I think that it is, because we had the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1 did not have good battery life. It did not have the greatest when it came to heat. Samsung, even OnePlus, they kind of got hemmed up over trying to throttle stuff. So there was a lot of throttling that was heavily involved with the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1. The 8 Plus Generation 1 gives you that better balance on battery and performance. Plus, you don't have to worry about the overheating. A lot of times, whenever it comes to the gaming experience, when you get like a Snapdragon 8 Generation 1, you get the S22 Ultra, you get some of the previous phones, the flagships that came out earlier this year, here's what happens. You start playing, and then a couple minutes into it, it's running at full throttle, and then you start to get some of that throttling that tries to preserve, make sure it doesn't overheat, shuts down some of the resources, and the game experience will suffer. You're not going to get that here because you have a 20,000 RPM dedicated internal cooling fan. It's not one that goes on the outside. And that's one of the reasons I never really cared so much for the Asus Republica gaming phone, because it has that big module that plugs onto the back. Of course, you can get the LAN hookup, which is nice, but I think more importantly, having a dedicated internal fan is the way to go. Even though it does add a little bit of weight because you can't make this so thin, it can't be so slim, but I'm actually okay with that. And then it even comes with the case, so you're good to go there. So you put the case on here. Minimalistic, so it still gives you the coverage, but it allows for evaporation of heat, and it really makes for a good streamlined experience. Plus, you still have the openings for the shoulder buttons up top anyway. So I like what they've done with this phone. I think that it shows that there's actually a real need and a serious case scenario for having a gaming phone. I think the pricing is right. I think you probably don't need the 18 gigabyte version. I'm just going to throw that one out there. But this thing has some serious recharge capability, 5,000 milliamp battery, 65 watt charging with the charging brick in the box, which is great. Internationally 65 watts, Chinese model, 135 watts. That is insane. Like, we're not talking about a Samsung phone limited to like 45 or 25 watts. 65 watt minimum, maximum for the certain Chinese model, 135 watts. That's insane. But you still get plenty of storage, 256 gigabytes internal, 12 gigabytes of storage. I think that's perfectly fine. You want to bump it up some more, you can go ahead and get the 512 and 18 gigabyte model, and it still comes in at under $900, which I think is much more fair. Again, I wanted to try out like the Asus Republica Gaming 5 Ultimate phone last year, and that sucker was like $14.99. It was way out of reach. It was really, really expensive, if I'm remembering my numbers right, but this right here, I think it's well balanced. I think you get good performance. And if you're a gamer, I think this one makes a really good case for it. And that's why I wanted to make the video about this. I think that this phone finally makes a good case for it. We know you can get a OnePlus phone and it'll run games mostly maxed out. We know you can get an S22 phone, it'll mostly run games maxed out. If you're a dedicated or enthusiast gamer, you want to have the cool stuff like the shoulder buttons, the dedicated gaming mode, switching stuff off so you're not getting phone calls in the middle of your game. You want to have that 5,000 milliamp battery, the high recharge speed, and then I just love the cooling fan. And it's great too because you can have it set up when you plug it in. It runs the cooling fan while it's charging, so that's one of the things that it enables and allows that high-speed charging without having to worry about damaging or overheating your phone. It's really cool. And when you're charging it, like, it just goes up like that. It's crazy. If you get the 135 watt model, it recharges 50% in like 5 minutes, which is just mind-blowing. Utterly mind-blowing. So I like the phone. I think they did a good job. It's something that I think is going to do well if you want to pick one up. And one of the other great things that really ties in the entire gaming experience is the sound. The sound on this thing is utterly insane. Here, let me give you a demonstration of what the sound is like on this phone, and you tell me if it doesn't blow you away.
Before you step in a match, answer the question. What do you fight for? Is it the adrenaline?
Okay, so now that you got to hear what the sound is like, what do you think? It's insanely loud, detailed, really, really ties things together on this phone. The short end of the stick is it's not going to have the most amazing camera, but it has a 64 megapixel camera on it. I think that's totally fine. It's something that's going to serve you well. If you've got good lighting, you can take solid photos with that. The selfie camera, not the greatest in the world, but that's not why you're buying this phone. You're buying this phone so you can get elite level gaming. You've got a nice capability for all the stuff you want to play, and you can really kick some Genshin Impact on this phone. So solid job here from RedMagic. I like the phone. I think they did a good job with it. I think the pricing is good at $729. I think it's fair for what you get. 8 Plus Generation 1, 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, the cooling fan. It's got everything you could possibly want in here. So that's all I got for this one. If you have any questions or comments, then please go down to the comment section. I will get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.